Hi, and today I'm going to talk about attachment and how it causes suffering, and letting go can allow us to be at peace. And attachment it's one of the Four Noble Truths. It also can be translated as craving, but that the root of all suffering is attachment and desires to things. And the reasons that this causes suffering are sort of twofold, in that we attach a false sense of self, an I, to these things, whether it be shopping and clothes and shoes, or the fact that we like alcohol or a certain person for a relationship, and we attach ourselves to these things and try and find meaning in them, and that they make us who we are and that they fulfill us, and without them we'd be lost. And the problem with this is that all of these external things, whether it be an object, a person, a relationship, or also a mental narrative, sort of stories that we have to describe who I am, who we are, whether that's, I'm not good enough, or I act a certain way, or there's certain narratives. These are also attachments because they create who we think we are and give us an I of I am. And this creates suffering because none of these things are permanent. And that's another key principle in Buddhism, is impermanence, and that everything is constantly changing. Nothing is ever the same. We are not the same as we were when we were born. Our thoughts are not the same. Our bodies are not the same. The very atoms that make up our whole system are not the same. And everything is constantly changing, and attachment makes us cling to things and want them to remain permanent, and then that causes suffering because things aren't permanent and things change. And when we try to cling to them to make them permanent, that causes us anxiety and stress and emotional distress, because we can't have those things in that same way forever. And then it also is tied into the fact that we continually look for something to fill this hole of who am I, and this attachment to things. And sort of consumerism and advertising is really a big player in this, of saying that I'm not good enough and I'm not me without this jacket or this face cream, or if I don't go and drink this alcoholic drink. And people become attached to this and think, I need this to be me and to have meaning and have value. And so we attach ourselves to all these things and end up wanting more and more and more, because we always feel this sense of lack. And that lack comes from this attachment to things that aren't permanent. And then we get a sort of fulfillment, but it is very quick and then drops away, and we feel like we need something else. And non-attachment and letting go is not enjoying ourselves. It is not experiencing life, as sometimes the misconception can be of non-attachment, is just we're sort of this void and we don't interact with anything and we have no emotion. And that's not what non-attachment is at all. It is being fully present in the here and now, and embracing and enjoying experiences and things, but not attaching our worth to them and who we are. And a good way of looking at this that Eckhart Tolle talks about is, say, for example, if we're really, really attached to, a really expensive piece of jewellery, or something like an heirloom, or even just some shoes, or a particular way of thinking, like, I am not good at this. And asking ourselves, who will I be without this thing? Am I any less without this thing? What part of me am I feeling is less if this thing is not in my life? And that doesn't mean go and get rid of, your possessions or anything like that. But asking those questions can help bring an awareness to whether we are not just enjoying something and liking it and loving it. Love is very different to attachment. But if we are attaching our worth and identity to it, and this meaning to objects and things that we can't keep permanently, and so this causes all suffering. And letting go of that is a gradual process, but asking those questions and having an awareness when we go to buy something or consume something or go to meet someone, looking at whether we are fully in the present moment, whether we are attaching our meaning and our reason of sort of who we are to that thing or not. And then just having that awareness will start to break those ties of attachment, and meaning that we can appreciate and enjoy life without having this suffering that comes from attaching ourselves to things and getting that stress when we lose those things, or that continuous feeling of lack that we haven't got enough and that we're not enough. And this is also true of the emotions, and I'll just quickly talk about that. With we can have emotional attachments as well, and love can sometimes be misconstrued for attachment. And this is, I talk about in my 4 qualities of true love video that I'll put a link to, with not mistaking attachment for love, because if we have attachment, often it can perhaps very quickly turn to hate if someone does something wrong or not what we want them to do, or we feel very insecure, like if they disappear that we'll lose a whole big part of ourselves. And it's recognizing that we're whole and complete as we are, and if to love someone is to offer them loving kindness and joy and compassion, and having that equality between the two of you in a relationship, and offering love to someone is not conditional, and we're not attaching to them in order for them to make us whole and have meaning. I'm not more of me for having that person. I'm not going to lose myself if that person disappears. I'm still whole and complete. And attachment often can be very powerful in emotional ways, of feeling like, no, I will be less of me without this person, or indeed this thing, this job even, and emotional attachments to jobs, and that who am I without this? And looking beyond that, and through sort of meditation and awareness, and asking these questions of, well, who am I if I didn't have this thing? I'm still me. What have I lost? And finding that peace and centeredness in the present moment, and recognizing that we can still enjoy things, and we can still be very much here in the present moment and love and experience life, but without that attachment. And having that non-attachment and letting go allows us to be much more at peace, recognizing we're whole and complete, and can allow us to go through life and enjoy every aspect of it without that stress and anxiety that comes from attachments. So I'll put a link to a couple books below about attachment that are really useful, and I'll see you guys all soon.